I'm Margaret and welcome to my artsy corner of the internet. So a lot of times I go and I react to K-pop dancers, and most of the time I'm focused on like the people who are like, this is the best dancer in K-pop. They're fantastic. And most of the time, all of the time, every time, yes, that's true. They are fantastic dancers. However, there are other people who dance in K-pop who are not considered the dance line, the best dancer in K-pop, the most fabulous danceologist in the world, right? Are they good? You know, when you have a group of like 7 people all dancing on stage together, or like 10 people, or however big some of these bands are, it's very easy to compare them to each other and say like, this one's a better dancer and this one's a better singer. And honestly, like if you do it in like a non-toxic way, like I think that's fine, because I don't think it's unfair to like give somebody accolades where they deserve it. Like if somebody's a fantastic dancer, they should be acknowledged for being a great dancer. But what about the other people on stage who might not have that same like title of being the best? Right? Like, are they terrible? And I was actually surprised to see like a lot of people are like, these people suck, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, I guess I'll just get my like original opinion out there. Like, if there is a dancer in a K-pop band that is not like the dancer, they're still probably really good. Basically every K-pop artist is a professional dancer, like if we're being honest, right? Because they're getting paid to dance, and that's a pretty standard definition for like a professional. Today we're going to be looking at people who are the dancers. The exact opposite of that. So we're going to be looking at the people who excel in other areas of K-pop but can still dance. I found a compilation on the YouTube about Jin from BTS. Hand movements for emphasis. Yeah, so I found this video and I thought that we could react. And then we'll see and we'll answer the question of, is Jin a good dancer or not? This is surprisingly, that's like a question that like people ask, and I'm like, okay. Okay, so this person who made this video gave us little nuggets at the bottom that we can also react to. So it says that he looks very stiff even with his easy choreography. I promise I can read, guys. He looks very stiff even with this easy choreography. I can imagine that if like you're like a new like little boy group, your early years are probably just terrifying. Like if you're thinking about it, like you're dancing, you're singing, you're rapping, you're supposed to look good, there's now people in front of you, like it seems stressful. Nothing that he's doing in this particular clip is bad. I talked in one of my reactions how a lot of dancers, when they're uncomfortable or when they're newer to dance, will look down, and it's a really common correction. Like when I'm teaching kids, I'm always like, up. And I used to get that all the time in like middle school when I first started dancing. My teachers were like, stop looking at the ground. And it's really just kind of like this protection mechanism where like, if you're ever unsure or you feel slightly uncomfortable, you kind of like look down. It's also like if you're ever thinking or you don't know what's coming next, or you're like, oh, how did I do that again in rehearsal? You kind of like look down. It's like almost like a recall. So I think that he's looking down right there a little bit more. Probably because he's like stressed about this dance move, or he's looking for his spot on the floor. And I'd say that and maybe being slightly stiff. I think that's maybe why it looks a little less confident. Maybe he's like a little stiff, but also I don't think that this is choreography that necessarily warrants like a very non-stiff kind of dynamic. I said this in other reactions as well, but it's very fun to watch BTS because each one does it so differently, yet they're all together. But this is like 9 years ago or something. So they haven't had 9 years of working together every single day to hone their like group awareness and their individuality. So I think especially since they're younger and a newer band here, keeping it a little bit cleaner and borderline stiff, but having it be clean and all together so that they look unified is actually I think that like the stiffness is a little bit more visible here. I think honestly his arms are pretty good. His torso is a little creak, which is like totally understandable. Also, he's singing at that point, and so keeping like your neck and your diaphragm in a somewhat open position is important when you're singing. So you don't want to be all like contorted up in like weird positions if you're trying to get out of like a note. I was thinking about this, but when you're first learning a dance style, and we're gonna talk about hip hop right now, because I've always been ballet and I'm starting to get more into hip hop, but before you know the coordinations of the body, it's very easy to overthink. And it's not necessarily that you're like a stiff dancer or your body's incapable of doing these movements, but you have to think more about what is happening. So where an experienced dancer might be able to be like, body roll. If you've never done a body roll before, or if you're just newer to dance and less familiar with your body, you might be like, wait, okay, head, neck, and then chest goes out, and then the stomach. Because even sometimes somebody's like, do a body roll from the bottom up, and I'm like, wait, which way goes? Huh? And you're like, I don't want to just end up being like, or on stage. So then you like think, and you're like, okay. And sometimes overthinking the individual coordinations of a move can make you look stiff, even though you're just trying to get the coordination. And I think hip hop is one of those dance styles where once you get it, it makes a lot of sense and you can just easily do it. But if you've never done a certain step or a certain groove before, you can kind of sit there and be like just like looking at like the instructor or the choreographer just being like, what are you doing? Like, what part of your body is bending? I was in a class the other day and we were basically doing like these like walks back, and you would kind of go down and up. So like you'd like plie on your leg and then kind of step up. So it was like a down up walk backwards. But then when you went down, your arm and head went up. And then when you came up, your arm and head went down. And the first time the teacher did it, I was like, I mean, that looks great, but I have no idea what you just did. And then the first couple times I tried it, I was like, and then once you kind of get it, you're like, oh, wait, okay, I got it now. And then you can kind of start to put your own style on it. But it's like a progression. And so I think sometimes people who don't have like an extensive dance background, it's not even necessarily that they're stiff or that their body isn't doing it properly. It's just that they're overthinking a little bit to try to do it properly. Okay, this is actually a good way to explain this. If you've ever learned how to drive and you've ever been on like a pretty fast road and it kind of curves, I remember like distinctively when I was driving or learning how to drive, I'd be like, because I didn't fully understand the car yet and how to take the curves, and if I was going this fast, how much did I have to, and then once I've been driving for like 5 years, you can kind of just be like, right? So it's smoother. So both cars are turning and they can look basically identical from the outside. One of the wheels are going and the other one's just going boom. If that makes sense. Looks unsure of himself, continuously looking at his members, dances harder than before, and he is keeping up. Okay. I think he kind of looks like the rest of his bandmates. I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, he looks so unsure of himself. He does peek at his members, but that's a very common thing to do. I feel like even when I'm, I've been a dancer for like a decade now, and when I'm on stage, I'll still peek at dancers, and I'll still peek at like the people I'm dancing with, make sure that I'm on the right count or that everything's like going smoothly or the pathway, or, there's lots of different reasons. Usually you're just like, are we on time with each other? And, I do think it's more obvious when you have like cameras that are making you jumbotron sized and uploaded onto YouTube, because you can see so much more clearly. So you can see like no crime in looking at people. I was in a hip hop class the other day, and I was fully like, I did not realize I was doing it. And I was just fully watching the person in front of me. And then like when we did it in groups and he wasn't there, I was like, oh, I did not know this combination at all. I think in that one, the thing that's missing is torso and hips, that's what makes him look a little bit more stiff, especially in more flowy choreography. If it's a little bit more like segmented, heavier choreography, you don't really notice that lack of undulation as much. But in a style like that, where there's a lot more like hip circles and little rolls and it's a little bit more fluid, you do notice that he doesn't use his chest and his hips as much. But another thing to say about that is that he does do a body roll at the end and he's fully capable of using his torso. It's just using your torso and hips on movements that don't focus on that. So if it's like an arm hit, having a little bit of a pop or movement in the torso and hips makes it look really good. And so when you don't do that and you're doing something, it can make you look stiff if the people around you are adding a little bit of that embellishment with the rest of the body. Lisa from Blackpink, I just watched one of her other videos, so she's just in my brain. She does that really well, where she does something that is totally unrelated to her hips, and then she's like, I'm just gonna use my hips because like she knows that her hips look good. And so she's like, I know I'm doing like a little hand thing, but what if I add in some hips? And that's another thing that like, if you are focusing on being together and singing and all of these other things and you're not as confident in dance, you're like, let me just do the actual move. I'll work on flair later. Yeah. So they said that he had a massive improvement. Yeah. And I mean, also, like, the choreography is getting harder. So it's not like he's doing the same choreography. If he would have done in 2016, the 2013 choreography, you'd probably see more of a difference. But, like, things are getting harder as he's getting better. I think maybe he just needs to do, like, this stretch? Just because his chest is a little concaved. It looks like he's like, oh, this is a fast section, clench, which makes sense because fast choreography, people who move fluidly through fast choreography are insane. How do y'all do it? It's so nice. It's so good. But yeah, just a little bit of tension still in the chest. He looks comfortable with movement. Yeah, I think even in this little clip, yeah, his shoulders could probably go up a little bit more, but it still looks good. This second clip though, I think that this choreography is just fits his body a little bit better. Even those little snake ups, he does really well. Okay, video says he looks great and this is a hard dance. Agree. I do think too that the costuming is helpful because in the last one he was in like a full-on suit. I think, yeah, he's in like a full-on suit. This one he's in like t-shirt, jeans, and it has a little bit more like movement and flow to it. So partly I think the flowiness of the shirt makes him look flowier, but also I think him wearing a little bit more comfortable, flowy, baggy clothes makes him feel more comfortable to move a little bit. I think sometimes, especially like when you're training and you're like, I'm just gonna go train for a little bit, it's fine, I'll just wear like my gross clothes or whatever. But I think that the clothing actually has a huge part to play in our improvement in how we feel in class. I used to wear a leotard and tights every single day to ballet class, and now my college doesn't require that, and so I'm like, thank goodness, because like wearing ballet tights and a leotard is just, it's humbling. But I did realize that I'm like, oh, I think I had better technique when I wore like the ballet uniform, because it just makes you feel a certain way and it highlights certain things that make you dance ballet better. And I think the same thing with hip hop. If you know that you're kind of stiff wear a big baggy t-shirt, you're gonna feel the movement of that. And so it's gonna kind of help you find the momentum. Because if you're dragging to the side and drag, you're gonna kind of feel your clothes go like boom, and then you'll kind of feel that your momentum of the upper body is hanging back, or so it can almost be like a teaching tool. If you're overthinking of which way did his torso go when he did this, having like a little bit of like leeway of bagginess can give you freedom to kind of move without judging what your torso is doing. Or sometimes if you're wearing like skin tight or something tighter, like a tight jacket or like a crop top or something, you can just like get so zoned in and focused on like, well, what exactly is my fourth rib doing in this move? And then next thing you know, you're overthinking, and you can kind of get into that stiff overthinking kind of realm. I was about to say that the video says he looks like he's enjoying himself more. Fully agree. You can kind of see like right here, he's kind of like, you can tell that like that might be a move that he's like, ooh, I messed this up a lot. Okay, hang on, let's focus on which my hips are going and what I'm doing here. But then as soon as he gets through that one more difficult step, he's kind of able to hop back and be a little bit more like add his own personal flair to it, which is really nice to see. And so instead of kind of being like thinking so hard through the whole thing, you can see that he has his moments of kind of like, oh wait, what do I do? And then it's like, oh yeah, and then he has like a lot more personality and flair, and you can tell that he feels a little bit more comfortable and confident. Ooh. His shoulders have gotten so much looser, and he has like more control over them now. Yeah, he looked very good in that one. I like that one. I like this one because I can see him compared to the rest of the people. I think like in that one, when you compare him to the rest of his bandmates, like he's holding his own. I think that one, they said that they put that in the video because he's much more fluid. But I think what's really interesting is that the choreography that he's doing in that section is so intricate and like footwork based. And the fact that he's doing something that is so focused on like footwork and intricate little movements, and yet he still has a fluidity which is seen through his entire body, is a testament to that progression. He's not now doing like a big flowy like body roll hip circle kind of piece. He's doing a small intricate piece, and yet there's still that fluidity and ease in his upper body when he's performing more difficult lower body feats. Look at him with that contraction. I feel like this is the first one where I've seen him express with his chest, giving like emotional weight to that center part of his body, which is really nice because not only, we've kind of seen like, okay, it was stiff and then it got a little less stiff, and then, oh, even in not fluid choreography, he still has a natural ease to his upper body. And now it's like, oh, he's starting to use that as a performance tool, as a way to add an emotional weight to his dancing through a body part that's not necessarily the focus of the dance move. He's doing like a hand thing, but he's adding weight to it through his chest. He looks really good when he wears like a flowy top like that. I like his little shoulder wiggle. Singing and dancing is just still crazy to me. Yeah, I think that's also, as I was kind of saying, when you're less comfortable with dance, sometimes it can take up like so much in your brain to be like, what's happening? And so trying to add singing on top of that, like, yeah, but you can tell like he's comfortable enough now with the rhythms and the pathways and the grooves in his body that he can add another layer without that affecting the quality of his movement. Yeah, that wasn't a real sentence. I like that. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. Did he just use his hips? I think I saw him use his hips. This was 4 years ago. Yeah. So I don't know what he looks like today. Well, I do know what he looks like today. So he's had like 4 more years on top of that. So, oh yeah, no, because 3 to 8 is 5, and then 8 to 2 is 4. And so he's basically almost doubled that amount of time of practice. So I'm sure he looks even crazier and better now. I think he can dance. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any other recommendations for videos or comments about dancing or compilations or questions, I don't know, just write anything in the comments down below and I'll probably respond. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my video and I hope to see you guys again soon. Goodbye.